welcome to Genesis Global Radio, the origin of information. And now here's your host, Christine Larkin.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Genesis Global Radio, the origin of information. I'm Christine Larkin. On today's segment, we'll be speaking with Rhonda Knutson, author, teacher, motivational speaker, and political activist. She's passionate about her work and not afraid to speak her mind. On today's segment, we'll talk about her books and her teaching career. From Arkansas, it's my pleasure to welcome to our show Rhonda Knutson. Rhonda, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Christine. I appreciate you having me on.
It's great to have you here. So we're going to talk about, you're an author, and you've written a book called Escape from Hell, a woman's story, based on personal experience. So tell us, what is behind this book?
Well, actually, I was born unwanted and was extremely abused to the max in every sense of the word. And my grandma, when I was 6 years old, wanted me to come live with her, and I had just been raped by an older brother and a 14-year-old neighbor. And Grandma introduced me to her church and her Jesus. And from that day on, I walked very close to him because he became my best friend. And as the time went on, I went ahead and, I went through a lot, and it's in my book. I went through a lot of hell on earth. And so when I had my children, I had 3 and was left with 3 and pregnant with my baby. And I was only 3 months pregnant. So I went back and got my education. And after all of this, I fell in love. My first job was with juvenile delinquents at a correctional school. And I fell in love with these kids. It reminded me so much of what had happened to me because of the fact that so many of these children had been abused. And, they got into trouble, and I praise God I didn't. But it just made me realize how important it is to, to help these children. And so consequently, what I did is I took in 13 of them. So I was a single mom, and I raised 17 kids as a single mom, 10 girls, 7 boys. And it was such a pleasure, and it was such an enjoyment. And it all turned out so good, and it helped me also realize the value of being able to help children and help people. How did
you raise 17 children? Tell us a little bit about that.
Very carefully.
Wow.
To be honest. No, how it all started is that my kids all love people too. And when I was working at the school, there's an O&R when the children come in because they're judged juvenile delinquents. And this Patty came into my office to help me because she wanted to become a secretary, which is something I needed in my office. So we got real well acquainted. And in the office, she'd start calling me Mom. And I'd even take her home for a weekend. And my 2 girls were right at her age. And it was just such a joy. And so when she went home, was actually released, she went with another couple, a young couple, that just wanted her for a babysitter and a housekeeper. So she called me at the school, and she said, Mom, if you don't come get me, I'm going to run so I can come back to the school. And so this is how it all began. I called the aftercare worker, and we planned a time for me to go pick her up and take her home until Joyce found another foster home. Well, needless to say, she never did. She stayed with us. And that was the beginning, and it just went on. And my kids would bring children home that had been kicked out of their home or whatever the situation. And, and it was just wonderful. I can't begin to tell you that it was fun, but they call me the Army Sergeant now, because of the fact.
Yeah, the Army Sergeant, because you really were raising a little army. Now, what were you doing? I mean, you were teaching you were teaching phys ed and recreation at a correctional institute for juvenile delinquent girls. Was this enough income, or were the kids a little older? Did they help? How did you survive financially?
Very, very carefully. I was a very good manager, and we just lived on my income. Sometimes I did pick up evening jobs to take care of them, but we all, children don't need a lot. And the reason I didn't take any money from the state or anyone, because they specialize in letting you know what has to be done.
Right.
Each child has to have a bedroom, each child this and that. We didn't have that. I had a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home.
Okay.
And what we did is we had bunk beds, and we did with what we had and what we could do with. And one of the things, Christine, that was such a joy is on Friday night we had rap sessions, and I really approve of this. We've had as many as 22, even extra kids, would come, and we would sit in a circle and talk about the week and talk about our problems and take care of all the chores that was done or not taken care of. There's so many ways that people can help their children, grow up and be responsible and still feel like they're important, that they're somebody special.
Oh,
and
this
I think
is
that's
such a
the
great
secret
thing.
of all of it. And I learned from my own. I never thought I was special because I was so abused. And due to this and my education and my desire to want to help people in a loving heart because of Jesus, it just worked. And that's about all I could say about it. It just worked really good.
So your faith played a major role in making it all work and having this well of compassion and ability. Because let's face it, with that many children, you've got to feed them, you have to clothe them, keep them warm, keep them safe. So tell us a little bit about your faith, because certainly that played a major role in your life.
It has, completely. In fact, even whenever I talk to anyone that will meet me will understand that where my entire life is Jesus first. I pray for people. I pray for every situation that happens, no matter what it is. I do pray for, and God will answer and give you the strength and courage and tenacity that you need. So many people have it wrong. They blame God for everything, but I've never blamed God for anything that's happened to me, and there's been a lot of things that's happened to me. And so consequently, just like my book, this was just something I had been wanting to do because years prior I had written short stories, and I love writing. And like I said, I just knew that I had to write a book and try to encourage people. And the big thing is everyone says how inspirational. Everyone that's read it, even men, said, Rhonda, you're so open and honest that it made us do some thinking. This is the entire situation about my book and being an author and a teacher. I just absolutely love being a teacher.
Well,
Yeah.
Tell us how the teaching part of your life influenced you in writing the book and also in guiding these children that really needed your love and your acceptance and openness.
What happened to me as a child, I was only 5.5, I almost drowned in the ocean. And my sister, 21 years older, an adult, pulled me out. Well, I was petrified of swimming, and this is how it really all started. When I was 9.5, I went to church camp. Well, there was a swimming instructor there, and it was a lake, and she finally convinced me to come down to the lake. Well, in that 2 weeks I was at church camp, I became a fish. I also knew right then and there that I wanted to become a teacher, phys ed teacher, swimming coach, because I wanted to help kids the way she helped me. And that's been my life. I try to learn as much as I can. I love studying. School was a true blessing for me. I was a very, very good student because I loved learning. But I also love teaching because if teachers would love their job enough to realize what they do to people's lives, you're giving children knowledge. You're helping them grow. You're helping them to become real people and feel valuable.
Sure, you're shaping their life.
Yeah, right. And Christine, that's been my life. I have a servant's heart. And again, Jesus saved my life from giving me a servant's heart and giving me the opportunity to know what I wanted to do with my life. And and you need to focus. You know, a lot of people, even when they graduate high school, don't have any idea what they want to do. Well, you know, if you already know what God put you on earth and he does this, he then will direct you in the way for it to be a success.
Yeah.
And I just feel blessed that the children all turned out great. That's all about my book. The book is definitely an inspirational book. It's to help people realize so many things about Jesus in their life that you're not going to necessarily hear about in church.
Yeah.
It's personal things. It's individual things that
Well,
you are able to pass on.
And also, how does one become faithful? You know, certainly the times that we live through, and probably have always lived through. I think every generation, every age has its own struggles. Certainly, you know, here in the Northeast, we've experienced an incredible storm. Who hasn't heard about it? I actually live near the beaches that have been absolutely devastated by it. And, you know, I found myself last night praying for people that have lost everything. And then thinking about the ramifications of a person's lifestyle, you know, the neighbors that they lose when they lose their neighborhood, the children that are affected, and their friends that are displaced. So it's like a ripple effect. So, yeah, so faith plays such a major role. How would you describe faith, Rhonda?
Faith is something that you're not going to see, but you feel. You feel a strength. You feel a tenacity. When I'm praying, I pray directly to Jesus. And if people will realize that, you know, everybody wants to, first of all, I've said that, blame God. But, you know, God doesn't cause a lot of these things. The things that's happened to me have literally been human error, something that I did to cause it. You know, we have a tendency to blame God for everything. But if we have a smile on our face and a positive attitude and not sit around on a pity pot, God is going to give you whatever it takes for you to heal or to mend your ways or to be apologetic if you've hurt someone. It's amazing. Jesus can give you anything that you need if you just ask him. Yeah. That's basically the entire thing about having faith and also knowing right from wrong. He will help you know right from wrong. And if people would just read the Bible, it is one of the greatest books ever written. And, you know, just being able to love others and get your focus off yourself is phenomenal. And it also will give you anything you need.
Yeah. What about forgiveness, Rhonda? What about forgiving the people who inflict the pain? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. In fact, I will give you an example of my own father and mother. When my dad died, it was the day before I was doing a water ballet show at the county for the school, and that's how I ended the swimming program for the year. And so my father came over and mother, and he, at the end of our dinner, and it was my oldest son's second birthday, I walked over to the door, and he grabbed a hold of me and gave me a hug, first one I ever had from my dad. And he said, you know, you call me by name, Rhonda. You have been a good daughter. You have been, and I made you very proud. You've made me very proud. And I started tearing up, and he gave me a big hug as he left again. And that was the last time I saw my dad alive. So that's the way God helped me forgive my dad for all the abuse. Okay, my mother had a massive stroke, and at this time I had 9 children, and I took my mother in. When my mother died, she died of a massive stroke, but before she died, she scribbled a note, Jesus loves you, and so do I. So you see how Jesus helped me heal of any anger, pain, or anything. And if you will be aware of these kind of things, it happens for everyone if you walk with your Lord and your Jesus.
And also you were given an opportunity. You were given that opportunity for forgiveness for that little moment. I had a similar thing. Yeah, when a parent was dying, to forgive them for, any anger that I had. So you heeded to the opportunity. So many people can let that go by, but you chose to choose that opportunity to forgive. What did you learn from all of these experiences? They sound like they brought a lot of pain to your life, but they also brought a lot of good. So tell us about how that bad was turned into something good.
Well, everything that bad happens to us, if we look at it as an incident and not let it completely engulf our life, it's amazing how it will help you learn to grow, and it's an education. I've always felt that everything that's happened is an education. Mm-hmm. And so if we use those educational times, accidents or whatever happens, to become stronger, then it makes us a better person.
Absolutely.
And the one big thing I've always, positively believe in is how our attitude is. Mm. Now, if you're around a person that's always grouchy and always finding fault and always being negative, it's not enjoyable to be around them. Mm-hmm. And personally, if you love people or want people to be your friends or want people to be in your life like my kids and such, then consequently you will have a positive attitude and a smile.
Right.
Everybody in the world has hurt sometime or other, no matter what.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's how we deal with it. If we deal with it in a positive attitude, and again, I get that from my Jesus. I have no doubt about where I get it. Mm-hmm. And I've had a lot of people ask me, how do you do this, no matter what happens? But, if you let things get you down, that's where you're going to stay. But if you just pass on and figure it's just something you're going to have to deal with it and let it go.
Let it go.
And I know it sounds easy, Christine, but it is easy if you know how to deal with it. And see, I've always had Jesus to talk to. Mm-hmm. I talk to Jesus just like I'm talking to you. Mm. And by doing that, it's just like when you talk to a person and they lift you up, you will automatically feel better.
Well, And you also understand that, I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I'm almost feeling the way that you handle things, in that you don't really take it personally. You don't hold on to it. You let it go, and it gives you wings to soar and do something else, something, and live on. And it actually, right, and it inspires you. So tell us, do you have other books that you're working on in the same vein, or are they different? Tell us about that.
I'm writing 2 more books right now. I have several I'm going to write. Mm-hmm. The next one is a sequel to my first one, but it's called Shadows of Corruption. It's quite intriguing. I carry on from my first book. It's a sequel, but it's also very intriguing. Mm-hmm. And then, both my books should be out at the beginning of next year.
Beautiful.
And my next one is a fun book. It's called Coast to Coast on a Piece of Toast.
Ooh, I like that.
And I had a bus driver, Christine, give me that name. I decided one time I'm an adventurous. I will experience anything that I can, and I'll try to do things and at least learn. And so I decided to take a trip. This is after my children were grown. I took a trip across the United States on a Greyhound bus.
Oh, cool.
And the first driver, and it's been years ago, the first driver and I were talking. I was in the front seat, and I told him I was writing a book. And he said, "You are?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Now I need a topic." And so he told me how that he was an older driver, and he told me how that bus drivers used to have to go coast to coast on a piece of toast. And so I asked him if I could use the title, and I interviewed. It's beautiful. This book is not only beautiful, but it's going to be fun. I interviewed passengers and bus drivers and at stations, and it was it's going to be a very fun, exciting type book.
Oh, it sounds cool. I mean, how bad could it be with that title? And and certainly those testimonials and those little interviews from other people give you real insight into how everyone has a unique experience in this life, and how everyone has faced challenge and hardship and great joy also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're not
agree.
that different, right? Even though, some have experienced worse things than others, it's really a very personal thing. So we
Yes.
can
Yes.
always learn from someone else's joy and their pain. I want to give out some contact information for people who'd like to read your book and learn more about you. The website is www.rhondaknutson.com. That's RHONDAKNUTSON.com. Her inspiring book, Escape from Hell, A Woman's Story, is available at Amazon.com. It's on the Kindle ebook, or you can order it through her publisher, Hastings Books, and you can contact Kathleen Hawk. She is the merchandising coordinator at 1-800-788-7654. So you love teaching, you love writing, and you certainly love children. What other things can you share with us about all these experiences that keep you going even today? You say your children are grown. What are you doing now other than writing? Are you still helping others?
Yes, I am. There was a young woman at church, in fact, that had been in an abusive marriage. I used the money from my books also to help children or young mothers, because when I had my children, I also took in young mothers and a child or two, whatever I could handle.
Amazing.
But there was a young mother at our church that had gone through an abusive marriage, and due to that, her 2 children had been taken away from her. So consequently, the church was she had got back on her feet. She went on, got some education, got her children back, but she needed help. So I gave her a substantial check, anonymous, through the church. But it's just something that I need to continue, because no matter how old you become, you need to be productive.
Yeah.
And by being productive, you're more positive. And by helping other people, especially young people, it helps them realize that as they grow older, they need to return that. They need to turn around and help someone else.
Yeah.
So it's a teaching thing, I guess. I knew I was born at 9.5 years old. I knew I had to be a teacher.
Incredible.
And everyone, even my exercise classes, when I was teaching at 5 different churches, no charge. But the point is that that's something they said, that I had a way of really being a teacher.
Where do you get the energy? Where do you get all this energy and vitality?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And Christine, I'm wearing 4 braces right now on my legs, and I'm unable to have, surgery for a reason. It's just a lot of things that I don't know. God just keeps giving me this energy, and I praise him for it, because I'm almost 76 years old, and I go 100 miles an hour nonstop.
It's truly inspiring just to hear it, really. I can feel that energy through the radio here. It's just like buzzing. And so how does one remain so selfless? Obviously your faith plays a tremendous role, but how do you find time to take care of you?
I do. There's a little regiment that I do. I take care of me. That's why I can keep going 100 miles an hour. Because of the fact that, it's just something that I love doing. And it's most anyone that truly loves to do for others, and enjoys it. Yeah. It feeds them, believe it or not.
It gives you energy.
It gives me more energy.
Right.
When I know I can help someone. And that's why I'm excited about my book, and my book's coming out, because I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing it to help others. Because with the money, I've got special book account. And by doing that, I can help others. And that's what it's all about.
Oh, yeah.
God put us on this in this world to help others. And the more we can do that, actually, it's a feedback. We get more out of it in life, too.
We absolutely do. And there's so many things that you learn by giving. You learn compassion and understanding and love and forgiveness and patience and kindness. It could go on and on. There are so many things. And don't you find, Rhonda, the more you give, the more you can give, and the more you want to give?
Well, and the more you receive.
Yeah.
I'm a hugger. Everybody knows me as a hugger, and I learned that from my grandma. And I'll tell you that many, many times it's amazing, and the way she told me that's from the heart. And the more that we can give hugs and give to others from the heart, the more that it will make us feel better, not only about ourselves, but around our surroundings.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, I heard the Dalai Lama speak many years ago. Well, not that many years ago, a few years ago. And of the 2-hour lecture, the one thing that I took away that really resonated was, don't be afraid to touch each other. We have to hug each other more. We cannot be afraid of touching. So hug somebody today. Yeah.
Positively. That is the greatest. The greatest thing that we can do is love each other, and that's what, God wants us to do, is truly love each other.
You better believe it.
And when you do that, you definitely get it back. There's no doubt about it.
I agree. I'm a love girl, Rhonda. I know you are.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So, again, if you'd like to check out Rhonda and what she does, who she is, her books, go on RhondaKnutson.com, RhondaKnutson.com. Her inspiring and moving book, Escape from Hell, A Woman's Story, is available on Amazon.com, Kindle ebook, or through Hastings Books. You can contact Kathleen Hawk, the merchandising coordinator, at 1-800-788-7654. So we have a few minutes left, and, as we wind down, tell us a little bit about someone you currently know that needs a little bit of help. I know you mentioned this young woman who is having trouble in her marriage. Is there anyone else that you'd like to share with us as we wind down? There's
a young man that he has quite a plate full. His wife is very young. They're in their late 40s, and she had cancer. Well, she just got into remission, and she had a stroke. Oh. Well, he's got 2 sons. One just graduated, and one is a sophomore in high school. And so if people would help, for an example, help young people, young families like that, I do. I'm always helping him. In fact, I have his son come over and do work and try to help him because he's proud. And a lot of young families are. Yeah. But the point is that any way that we can help, even through our church, if we can help in any other way, even personally, I think that's important. Absolutely. Because the way the economy and the way things are here now, we need to help each other as much as possible. We're out of time for this segment, so I want to thank you very, very much for sharing with us. Thank you.
For upcoming segments, log on to www.genesisglobalmedia.com and keep your finger on the pulse of the hottest brands on the planet.